In today's video, we're going to be taking a look at the Endless Archive, which is a brand new PvE challenge in the Elder Scrolls Online that can be played solo or you can team up with another player. This update is completely free if you own the base edition of ESO, and it's out now for basically everyone: PC, Mac, Xbox, and PlayStation. So you can hop in right now to rise the ranks in the Endless Archive's leaderboard. So what this is basically an endless dungeon-like activity where as you progress, the challenges get more difficult and you get to earn tons of new rewards such as a unique mount, pet, class-specific items, other collectibles, and more. Now in this video, I'll explain the details of how this all works, and you'll be seeing my level 25 PC character fighting alongside a longtime member of the community, Char. I wish I could play my max level, which I have over on PlayStation, but my PlayStation is currently not doing too hot. Thank you to Bethesda for sponsoring this video. Let's jump right into it. So first, a quick overview of what ESO is before we jump into the archive, and chapter markers are below. ESO is a very highly rated MMO that came out in 2014 but has successfully remained as one of the top MMOs since its release. The game takes place on the famed continent of Tamriel, and you can actually visit several of the locations from Morrowind, Oblivion, and Skyrim. As you can see right here, I'm currently in Seda Neen, perhaps one of the most iconic locations in all of gaming. So nostalgic. Now, taking a quick look at the world map, we can zoom in a little bit and see the Cyrodiil province with the Imperial City. Great memories there in Oblivion. And then Western Skyrim is up here on the top. There's a ton of amazing, iconic Tamriel locations that you can visit. This game features an action combat system where you can charge up to do heavier attacks. You have 2 ability bars to put special skills on. You can block, jump, roll, sneak, and the game also offers the ability to seamlessly switch to the first-person perspective. This is an MMO, so expect dungeons. There's 12-player trials, which are kind of like raids. We now have access to the new Endless Archive, of course. There's PvP consisting of battlegrounds and world PvP. There's a ton of crafting. And of course, I can't leave out just the general exploration of the world and the vast amounts of quests and lore that this game offers. Out of all the MMOs that I've played over my lifetime, ESO definitely stands out as one of the best, if not the best, in the exploration and immersion departments. Last thing before we jump into the archive, there's 7 different classes to choose from, each with 3 of their own unique skill lines, which are kind of like subclasses that you can dip into or go fully into. There's also skill lines for weapons, armor, the world, guild skill lines, alliance war skills, racial skills, and crafting skills. It's really up to you where you want to spend your skill points as you level up. I'm currently playing the Nightblade class, which is kind of like a rogue-like assassin type class, but I'm also spec'd into heavy armor and sword and shield at the same time. So you can really do some interesting, unique combinations here and end up finding some really powerful synergies. All right, let's jump into the new Endless Archive update. So to get to the archive, you can simply teleport to it via the world map, or head to Apocrypha if you are a Necrom chapter owner. Like I mentioned earlier, you can do this solo, or you can team up with another player or your in-game companion. I will be doing a bit of both in this video, but the player that you see with me is none other than Char from the community, who has played ESO for many hours and is using a level 50 sorcerer and is basically carrying me, if I'm being honest here. I should also point out that ESO does have a new quality of life addition to the game called the Group Finder that can help you find a group to play when you need it, and that includes for the Endless Archive. So the Endless Archive does not have a normal or veteran mode, and the difficulty stays the same regardless if you play solo or as a duo, so you definitely have better chances of surviving longer with another player, and of course being higher level also helps, but there's no level requirement. But what the heck is this place? The Endless Archive is a sacred library that has been corrupted by a powerful Daedra, and the archive's custodian, this guy right here, needs your help to restore it. When you enter the archive, you'll be contending with randomly generated waves of enemies and stages, and it gets progressively more difficult the further that you get. So each time you run the archive, it's going to be different from your previous run, as the type of enemies that you encounter are pulled from a random pool of ESO creatures. And this also goes for the bosses in the archive and the actual arenas that your battles will take place in. Our first run in Cycle 1, Stage 1 looked like this. And on our second run, Cycle 1, Stage 1 looked like this. The mini bosses and the main bosses are selected from a variety of content from the game, from dungeons, arenas, and trials, and they will have similar mechanics to the fights where you originally encountered them outside of the archive. As you can see right here, we encountered Latvulan. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that correctly. And Latvulan is the antagonist of ESO's Dragonhold DLC. This dragon is the leader of the Order of the New Moon, and this guy basically kicked their asses, not gonna lie. And it didn't help that I was 25 and his AoE attacks basically just destroyed me, and also I kept falling off the damn map. Your progression in the archive works like this. You have stages, cycles, and arcs, and these are represented on the top right of your interface. My character in this shot is currently in Stage 1, Cycle 1, and Arc 1. To get through a stage, you must survive 3 fights, which are basically 2 different waves of mobs and then a final mini-boss encounter. After you complete 3 stages, you'll then have completed what the game calls a cycle. And as the name suggests, you'll then start the process over until the final 5th cycle, where you'll fight 2 different waves of mobs like the previous cycles. But this is then followed by the Thoat Replicanum, which is the end boss for completing an entire arc. I hesitate to say final boss though, because this is the Endless Archive and you'll be incentivized to complete more arcs to get more rewards. There's also repeatable quests that you can keep picking up from the custodian of the archive. Now, there's more to it than just that though. After you complete a stage, you'll be presented with 2 verses of which you get to select one. And these are basically buffs that will only carry through to the end of the next round. As you can see right here, I completed stage 2 of a cycle, and I get to choose between augmented areas, which would increase my area of effect ability's damage by 50% for the next round. Or I can take Glamorous Scholar, which summons a floating book that attempts to charm nearby enemies whenever I successfully dodge an attack. And since I'm kind of in tank mode and not really using a ton of AoE damage abilities, I chose the Glamorous Scholar. My teammate Shar also got to choose between 2 different randomly generated buffs, and yeah, these can make a really huge difference in your run. Also, after you complete a stage, these little kifs also spawn and they act as merchants that sell potions, repair kits, etc., but they also have some powerful verses that they sell. I picked up a few of the mystery defense verses here to help with my survivability. And to buy these verses, you do need to have archival fortunes though, which are acquired from chests that spawn after defeating the bosses of each cycle. Now, speaking of these chests, you can get all sorts of goodies from them, from archival fortunes to gold to gear. As you can see right here, I got a glove upgrade from this one, soul gems, and more. There's also permanent upgrades that you can purchase with archival fortunes after completing associated achievements. And these can give you more lives for your runs or movement speed buffs when in the archive and so on. I also can't leave out the very important class sets that you can obtain by completing arcs. There's a set for each of ESO's 7 classes, so everyone has something to work for. Also, after you defeat a boss, you're presented with what the game calls a vision, and visions are similar to verses in that they are selectable buffs, but visions provide a permanent buff for the remainder of the run. So the verses only last for a single stage, while the visions last until you complete the Endless Archive, or die enough times to get booted out and have to start over. And speaking of death, you'll only have 3 lives to spend while in the archive, and these are called Threads of Fate. They apply to your entire team though, so if you're dead but your partner finishes the current challenge that you're on, it won't cost your team a thread. The limited lives here really add to the challenge and make this activity highly engaging, as you'll be playing on the edge of your seat basically the entire time as you try your hardest to not wipe too early on in your run. Now, if you're good enough to complete an entire arc, congratulations, but it doesn't really end there, as you can then jump back into the archive with a harder arc of a higher difficulty and a few random twists. Unfortunately, my level 25 wasn't able to survive that well at the end of our 4th cycles, so I didn't get to complete an arc. I will say though that it was quite fun, and I do feel motivated to want to level up my rather noob character to return one day to defeat the Thoat Replicanum. And that's going to do it for this video. If you guys are interested in taking a look at the Endless Archive update, I'll leave a link down below. Like I said, the Endless Archive is included in the base game for free, and you can actually download the base game on Xbox Game Pass, or it currently costs $19.99 on Steam and the PlayStation Store. Thank you to Bethesda for sponsoring this video. I had a great time jumping back into this game. Like I said, I used to have a max level character back on PlayStation, but I had to jump into my PC character because my PlayStation's broke, and of course the people that I wanted to play with were also on PC. But regardless, I had a great time coming back into the game, and I miss MMOs, I'm not gonna lie. I'll catch you all in the next one.